the last so obstacles. When you first begin to practice, as I said, you should meditate frequently for short periods of time, because as a beginner practitioner, if you try to practice for a long time, then there are two major obstacles will arise. In Tibetan, we call it shang gut. Shang means dullness, drowsiness. Gut means agitation or distractedness or restlessness. Gutpa. These are subtle and gross forms to both dullness and agitation. So these are obstacles during to the actual practice of meditation. So when you meditate, for example, when you meditate for a while, you will feel your mind will kind of like sink into unclear understanding. Do you understand? Which is this dullness. And this dullness obstacle brings you to sleep. Okay? So the sooner you recognize this dullness, the easier it's to treat. So when this happens, usually, think of your intention. Why are you practicing? How important is this to you? So usually there are many good antidotes to this, dullness, because it happens. It happens all the time, as like our, meditators. It happens. So the great meditators or, masters found some good solutions or antidotes to these obstacles. So we need to abandon the defects of dullness and agitation, restlessness, So first of all, the dullness, sleepiness, okay? Antidotes to this dullness. For example, you might know this, but there are lots of circumstances, right? Like if you eat too much, the weather, the energy of your body, everything, sometimes it's really hard to meditate because of like, you're, feels very tired and, everything is like unclear, all of that, when you meditate, that kind of, situation, it's really hard to meditate, right? So for that, the antidote, the solution, for example, teachers say engage more sort of fully with the breath, okay? And take few sort of deeper breaths. As long as you can, like slowly, like that, breathe in and then slowly, as long as you can, like few deeper breaths. It will help. Open up your awareness and let sort of external sounds and sensation in. Another good one is strike up, like sit in position like this. And then you can like look around, Very important solution. Once you do that, and then they call it like do a fortune meditation. What is that? Fortune meditation, which means you should think that I am so fortunate to have this precious human life. I am so fortunate. I have this freedom to practice. There are lots of other beings who want to practice, but they don't have the freedom to practice. They're fortunate, not enough fortunate to practice, to have freedom. So you have to think all of that. And then you should open your eyes fully and let sort of light in. And then meditate for a while with eyes open. That is a good solution for dullness. Rubbing, your hands and squeeze, hands and release, and do it several times. Shaking your body. This happens, this dullness to you when you meditate? I think so. It's a very common obstacle, inner obstacle. Like that. Strongly, like, powerful. Okay? Several times like that. And clench your whole body and release. Stand up is good. Sometimes stand up. Stretch. Stretch is very good. Stand up, stretch a little bit. Move your body a little bit. And another one is like splash water your face. Very good. Very good. And slap. This is what you call it. Slap, right? Slap your forehead. My teacher always does this. That's not enough like this. Just like this, nothing else, pull your hair, like this. Really good. Well, these are very good solutions, okay? Physically, like, stretch and, move and stand up and all of that's good. Mentally, think about this. Meditate on good fortune, fortune meditation. Dullness. And the other one is agitation, right? Restless, I think. When you meditate, your mind kind of restless, wanders and all over, There are lots of sort of distractions and your mind becomes kind of like you can't control. Your mind like become like wild and really you can't control. You tried, but you can't. Means like you cannot focus on your meditation, just too much there, So this is another obstacle we called gotpa, gut means like restless, actually restless. Your mind is too it has too much like energy, so you can't really control. So when this happens, this happens a lot also, to meditators, So the antidote to this, the agitation or this, distractedness, these antidotes are, again, engage more fully with the object. If you have object or meditation, or maybe change your object to sensations at your abdomen, or focus on your heart center. When the dullness happens, you focus on outside rather than inside. It's better. But the agitations happen, then focus in rather than outside. Because then you can, through that, you can little bit you can control your mind. And take a few deeper sort of breaths, always good, both of these obstacles. Then think about, when this happens, think about, if you want, death awareness meditation, which is your mind is all over and you really can't control, and, and then you say, hey, I'm going to die at some time, but I really don't know when, right? This is very common. You can say that yourself. I don't know when. When I do, the only thing that will count will be my spiritual practice. So I have to practice now. Something like that, that's we call death awareness meditation. And sometimes think about in order to do this, think about your best and good friends, relatives who died, or maybe your parents, whatever, brothers, your family who died that you really loved. So that brings your mind sort of a little bit relaxed and you can, think about all that sort of awareness, death awareness meditation. So think about yourself, your life. Are you afraid? Are you afraid, or are you sort of concerned this suffering at the time of death or after that? Are you afraid? If, because when I meditate, I usually I recognize my life is perfect. I think my life is perfect. I don't need anything better than this life, But sometimes I wonder, what will happen to me next life if I don't have a good foundation, Because I totally believe in future life. Totally believe it. So if you believe it, your future life, and if you don't develop a holy mind, then you never know what will happen in your future life, in your next life, right? Next life. So when you believe that and you think about that, how much you have good karma, you investigate that, and you think about the death, you don't know what will when will happen. You get scared, you know. Oh my God, this life is perfect. All of us, perfect. But that's not only we have. We have continue, come back and come back, which is our mind, consciousness. Then, if you think about that kind of, the death and after death and all of that, we take care of this life very good, perfect. We have everything that we need. But how about in future life, the next life? That's another we have to concern. We have to think about, I think, if you believe it. If you don't believe it, then you don't care. But if there is a next life, if even though you don't believe, but then naturally, if there is next life, if you don't do good job, you will suffer. You don't want that happen, right? So anyway, so think about that kind of things and then close your eyes and think about these things, if you think about something that you don't like for example, like death and suffering and impermanence, etc., it will help your mind a little bit calm. Right now your mind is like all over, too much energy, right? But when you think about this, think about something that gives you sort of your mind a little bit, I would say, like panic, panic, like death. Oh my God, when this will happen? If something happened right now, I have nothing. I have nothing. I have no good foundation. So your mind is like you got a little bit like, panic, So if you say, oh my God, this death, I don't know when this will happen, right? You can't answer for this question because we don't know, right? But it brings your mind back. Right now your mind is so far away. But if you think that, then your mind brings back. So then you think about, okay, only my spiritual practice will help if this happens. So like that, that's, I think, good solution, to this agitation, restless. So, there are lots of, these are inner obstacles, right? There are lots of obstacles when we meditate. But almost, I would say, almost all of these obstacles included in these two. Dullness, either you have dullness and restlessness, So if you really take care of these two obstacles, then you take care of almost all the, every other obstacles. Otherwise, they say like, sleep is another obstacle when you meditate. What do you call it? Regret is another obstacle. Expectations, another obstacle. All of that, right? But all of this include these two. I think these two, very important. Because we experience this too, but sometimes we don't know if this happens, how what is the antidotes, all of that. Another thing, when you meditate, important is in any activity, you need a certain amount of motivation to finish what you start. And if you experience benefit and joy in what you are doing, this is really good. Then you will want to continue, to continue. And as I have always mentioned, it is important not to expect immediate result, okay? No matter how long you meditate, try to meditate with mindfulness. Otherwise, if you're, just sitting on your, on your cushion or your chair or whatever, and thinking, and then your mind will wander all over. When you, this is another obstacle, right? Like when you sit on your cushion and then you let, your mind think, that's another obstacle. Then this is opportunity to, you have time, now you think and think and think. You're supposed to be like you meditate, but you don't. And then you have, just think. This happened to me a lot, used to like, okay, I sit at my time and then let's say 15 minutes meditate on nature mind. And then I just, first time, like I just, okay, correct your meditation, motivation, and then look at your mind. And then somehow, I don't know when, then I'm thinking. Really, I'm thinking. And then the time out, like 15 minutes, ding, I heard the sound, oh my God, 15 minutes, I'm just thinking. No meditation. That happened, right? Because that's what you call it, distracting, or maybe restless, agitation. So then you need these things. You need these solutions, antidotes, okay? So then your mind will not rest if you follow these things. So for, whatever amount of time you meditate, even for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, try to maintain your mind sort of single-pointedly, without being distracted by thoughts. So that's why the pick up object and focus on that is really helpful. And of course, it's naturally, happens when you meditate that thoughts suddenly arise. When you see that happening, rather than following the thoughts, immediately bring the mind back through the mindfulness and think about all of these sort of antidotes that I just told you. It is also important in meditation to have the right motivation, which is based on the kind heart. And to accomplish concentration and meditation, you need devotion, joy, joyful effort, the mindfulness. Without this, your concentration is impossible, as teachers say. Because, for example, devotion is the initial sort of interest you feel towards spiritual practice, Dharma practice, right? The opposite of that, opposite of devotion is the absence of interest and clear thinking about spiritual practice. And joyful effort naturally follows when you plan to meditate. Buddhist sutras generally say that we get 10 benefits by practicing joyful effort and diligence. We are not easily controlled by circumstance. We receive the blessings of many enlightened beings. We remember the Dharma easily. We learn things quickly. We attain deep sort of meditative states, and we improve our practice, and we become enlightened more quickly. These are the benefits, joy for effort or diligence. These are the benefits. And joyful effort and diligence is based on understanding that life is short and that we must make good use of all the time that we have, the precious. And if we don't act now, we will never succeed at our goal. Okay? So the opposite of joyful effort is laziness, right? Laziness. And thinking that you are not good enough to practice. You know, I'm not ready, I'm not good about this. I can't do it, etc. So good meditation needs mindfulness to keep the attention, focused. So these are, the opposite of, I said, mindfulness is right? Forgetfulness. Because it's when the mind is moving very fast, and as soon as means like one thought after another, then because of that we forget the first one, right? We just follow thoughts and then first we forget. That's why if you do that, you have no mindfulness. So all of this, joyful, devotion, diligence, mindfulness, are the foundation, So, concentration is important, because of distraction. So there are many types of, distractions, but usually like there are two most common distractions. They are like external or inner distractions. One thing is, you have to know this, having thoughts while you are meditating is not a problem. People think that's a problem. When I meditate, I have lots of thoughts, but that's not the problem. But following them, indulging in them, is the real problem. That's the problem. Do you understand? Having thoughts, no problem. Following them is the problem. That's the obstacle to your meditation. So the discipline the mind and have concentration. You need to become your own teacher. Teacher gives the instructions to assist you, but real discipline and concentration must come from yourself. So, for example, if you have the time to practice meditation for, maybe 1 year without any sort of major obstacles, that will definitely bring good results. So you see, today we talking about this, lots of different stages of meditation. Maybe you think this is too much, but it's actually not. In order to have a good meditation, you really need all of this. Otherwise, just to sit and meditate, it doesn't work. You need to, like many things, you need to understand. You have to learn how to do it. You have to understand the obstacles, and then you have to, apply all this antidotes. All of this is like part of your meditation, So I think once you have all of this, then definitely you will do good job and definitely bring good result. You see, as I mentioned to you, there are three experience: bliss, what you call clarity, and no thoughts. These are the main sort of qualities of concentration, right? When you develop your concentration, you will get this experience, right? At the same time, you will diminish ignorance so that your wisdom will grow. And discovering wisdom requires relating with your mind by having discipline and concentration. So in the beginning, of spiritual practice, it's important to know the mind is the most important thing to work with. And the best way to work with your mind is through discipline and concentration and wisdom. A fundamental teachings of Buddha is that this says this samsara that we live in has been created by our own actions, like our family, our friends, and health and everything. And many of us think that we have a lot of power, right? Like money is a kind of power, fame is a kind of power, weapons are kind of power, stone, army, all of this are kind of power. We, the ordinary people, think that if we have these powers, then they will make us happy. That's the point, right? But in the Buddhist teachings, we talk about different powers, right? That are very different than these powers. Like we have, Buddhists say we have power of wisdom, we have the power of understanding, we have the power of love, we have power of bodhicitta, we have power of letting things go. So these are power, because then this brings happiness and peace. So this kind of understanding, will bring compassion that will reduce, means like suffering. This compassion, these powers bring compassion and reduce suffering. when we, understand we are no longer angry with each other, and the power of love, when our, heart is full of love, then our, this, what do you call it, irritations, don't really bother us. Don't, it doesn't matter, right? Once we develop these inner powers, and then we don't suffer anymore. So then, according to Buddhism, when you have these powers, then you become free person. So then there is no greater power than that. Because when you are free, you can help so many things, so many beings to, suffer less. So again, these things, mindfulness, concentration, and understanding this, give us the power to overcome our desire and attachment to our, afflictions. So, I think how wonderful it would be if our minds were free from attachment. Because when we look deeply, we will recognize that these objects of sort of, grasping, craving, all this, are absolutely not true sort of conditions for our happiness. We can see that through our wisdom. If we can see this, and we can cultivate the power of detachment, letting go, letting go, then we will be truly powerful. I think if we know how to cultivate, this kind of power, we will know how to contact everything, we will know how to protect, ourselves, our family, friends, everything. So if you want to practice with this kind of powers, and the first thing you need to do is, teachers say, go back to yourself. It means like you have to take this sort of, special stages of meditation that I mentioned to you. And you should start your day with meditation and with a good motivation. So mindfulness is very important. At the same time, good motivation is very important. There are good methods, though, good, maybe like sometimes meditators, they do, I don't know you do or not, but they download, so what do you call it, a mindfulness bell onto your laptop, computer, your phone, whatever. So they do is like every 15 minutes, you're reminded to be mindful. Usually we forget, right? So that's the opposite of mindfulness, is forgetfulness, right? So every 15 minutes, wherever you're walking or sitting, whatever, walking, every 15 minutes. That's another very good way to they don't have, the teachers, they don't have this kind of, like mind, what do you call it, this bowl, singing bowl or whatever, with their iPhone, right? Then they put like big letters everywhere. When they see it, then they remember their mindfulness. They put things on the wall or, letters or whatever. They do that. But right now we don't have to do that. So you have a singing bowl, you can download it, and then every 15 minutes, ding, and then, okay. Sometimes it's very good with slogans. Remember last time we talked about slogans? Very good. These things will really help for, and try not to divide your time into, like I always say this, right? Work time, or meditation time, your time, family time, right? Don't do that. All times can be your own time, right? If you recognize and keep in touch with what's happening in your mind. Great meditators, they always say, everything, the appearance, your body, everything is dharmakaya. And the speech and the sound, everything is mantra, right? Your mind, everything is like the nature of mind. We're not there yet. But they always, that's their enjoyment. That's always they do that. And there's no room for arise afflictions, negative thoughts. For them, good for them. We are not there yet. So we need sort of something that reminds us, So I think these are very helpful. If you really want, I hope, right? I hope, we all hope. Sometimes we say no hope, but, we want to sort of meditate and to recognize our, change our attitudes, all of this. This is our goal. So then in order to do that, we need so many different methods and techniques and all of that, And try to relax, before going home, so you don't bring, I think, accumulate sort of negative energy, or frustration home with you. Sometimes you go to work and then it's very difficult, right? Too much worries, stress, and everything. Don't bring that things in, with you, and don't bring that home. And also I suggest that, sometimes I think maybe it will be very helpful if you start a meditation group at your work. Most of all of you work, right? So you start that, like with, this it's not complicated meditation, right? But you just sit together, maybe lunchtime, whatever, break time, whatever, with your employees. So then you sit together for a few minutes, few times, maybe like a few times a week, maybe not every day, right? And try to meditate just mindfulness for, few minutes, 5 minutes with your employees. I think, it will help bring sort of, one thing is bring harmony if you do that. And then, what do you call it? Pleasantness for everyone, and then people will understand it slowly. If you practice mindfulness, and then people will understand what is wrong, what is right, how to keep the harmony, each other, all of that. I think it will help. That's what I think. I don't know. We are, as a Mahayana practitioners, we should think others, not only all the time think about ourselves. So how to help, physically, mentally, how to help others. So these things I think very nice. You don't have to involve, like you talk about Buddhism or any kind of specific religion. You just sit down and then practice mindfulness. Everyone like that, I think. So that's all. I think we should meditate for a few minutes and then go. Uh, meditation. Okay, meditate on the relaxation, same as before. But this time, I think maybe we should try to focus on inside of your mind rather than like outside, you know. So, for example, close your eyes. This is meditate on the relaxation, okay? If you have no obstacle, the dullness, close your eyes and then visualize the statue, visualize not the stage, but visualize the Buddha. You already know the statue. So visualize the Buddha or this statue and not making any judgment of the stage, oh, this is beautiful, oh, no, this is ugly, oh, no, not making sort of interest, not getting bored, and just to focus on it. So this is a little bit kind of visualization, right? So you close your eyes and then just focus, visualize the Buddha, and then focus on it. If your mind, wanders away, right away bring it back to the object, the visualization, the concentration. So now you have the solutions, the mindfulness, the awareness, 3 methods. Then you know how to do this dullness and agitations, all of that. So you should use all of these things that I told you. So that's it. Yeah.
Can I just quickly ask a question? Are we to imagine the Buddha facing us?
Facing us. Facing us. I think it doesn't really matter. You can, when you see this, you can visualize Buddha at your heart center facing this way, or you can visualize Buddha your front of your forehead, your face, and then he's facing to you this way. It doesn't really matter. But this time, like, you really close your eyes and then focus on that visualization. It's unclear if, then sometimes helps if you open your eyes, but not focus on the outside, still focus on your visualization. Okay, for few minutes. That's okay. That's enough for today. close in prayers. Now the dedication. This dedication prayers by Mapam Rinpoche, by Shandandewa, by Longchenpa, great masters. So we dedicate our the virtues, teachings, meditations. We dedicate all of this to others, so that we have peace and happiness, discovering the inner peace, never separate from mindfulness, awareness. Eventually, we all get together, attain enlightenment. All right. May I attain enlightenment life, those line virtues of existence in peace. May I pursue the following minded altruism, working for the welfare of others in vast scale. Through this very merit of mine, may I realize sentient beings, eliminate all forms of negativity, and practice virtue forevermore. May Supreme Precious Bodhicitta take birth where it is not arisen, where it is arisen and never wane, but continue to grow forevermore. May I, in all my lives, no matter where I'm born, obtain the 7 qualities of forms of existence. May I meet the Dhamma immediately in American birth, and have the freedom to practice it perfectly. May I please the sovereign gurus, and day and night dedicate myself to the Dhamma. I realize in Dharma, practice its in the motivations. May I cross the oceans of conditioned existence in this very life. May I teach the sovereign Dharma perfectly, and never become weary and tired of benefit of other samsara by my impartial and all-encompassing activities. May all attain enlightenment together. Thank you very much for coming, meditate, study, learn, listen, teaching. And thank you for providing lunch. Kate, Kelly, Colin, who else? Jeremy, Roger, Pam, who else? And
brought some treats.
oh yeah, thank you very much, all of that, and thank you for to have lunch together and everything. So I appreciate. Thank you very much.